Have you ever stopped to think about the fans behind a band? What is it about the music that keeps fans coming back for more? Or is there more? My name is Renae Lipsmeyer, and I am the host of this podcast, The Space Between Podcast, the podcast where we talk about the fans of the Dave Matthews Band. Each week, a fellow DMB fan joins the show to discuss their journey with the band. Welcome to the Space Between Podcast. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Space Between Podcast, the podcast where we talk about the fans of a band that has been making music for over 30 years. The band that we're going to talk about got inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame just last year. And if you've never listened to this podcast, well, we're going to talk about one band, the Dave Matthews Band. So every episode, I have a fan of the band come on the show to talk about their journey. Where did they find the music? Why are they still listening to it after all these years? Or if they're younger, where in the world did they hear the Dave Matthews Band? Each journey is very different because we all found it at a different time and our lives have taken us in different paths. But it's beautiful that this one thing has brought us all together. So, of course, like every episode, I have a guest today who is going to share his journey with the Dave Matthews Band. So tell everyone, what is your name? Where are you from? And tell everyone a little bit about you.
Thanks, Renae. Hey, how are you? Thanks for doing this. My name is Jeff Trulli. I am from New Jersey, but southern New Jersey, all the way at the bottom in Cape May County. You ever been to New Jersey?
I have. I went to Camden, New Jersey. And is there another place that they play in New Jersey?
They play the what's it called? PNC Bank in Homedale, New Jersey.
Homedale.
Yeah.
Yes, I went to Homedale. So those are the two places I've been.
Okay. Homedale. Okay. Homedale's pretty old school venue. Yeah, it's like it has that old small little stage, old school feel to it. But
Yes.
Camden's my home venue. Anyway, so I grew up. For people listening, if they don't know much about New Jersey, I grew up 20 miles south of Atlantic City. So 20 miles south of Atlantic City, all the way down at the beach. So I'm, a shore beach guy. That's where I grew up. I'm like a 50-minute drive to Philadelphia. Camden's my home venue. But yeah, I'm an insurance inspector. I'm 38 years old. And yeah, I love the beach. I love music. I love sports.
Who's your team? I mean,
So
I could probably guess, but what's your team?
I'm in Philadelphia country in South Jersey. Half of southern New Jersey is Philadelphia sports. Northern New Jersey is New York. So I'm at the bottom of New Jersey, so we fall into it's Philadelphia country. But I'm a black sheep in one area in sports. So I'm Sixers, Phillies, Flyers. I'm not a Philadelphia Eagles fan. So I didn't get to enjoy the Super Bowl. I enjoy none of those things. I am a Los Angeles Rams fan. Long story short about sports is how did I become a Rams fan? And I go to one road game every year. So it's fun. So I travel for the team once a year. I've gone to Los Angeles, Arizona, Denver, Pittsburgh, all over the place. It's been a good little. I like to see a new city every year for sports. But how to become a Rams fan? When you're 6 or 7 years old watching sports, 8 years old, you're looking at the jerseys, you're looking at the helmets, you're looking at the logos. What looks cool to me? What's my favorite colors? All that. I love the Rams jerseys. I love the Rams logo. And my dad said, this is 1994 when I got into them, and my dad's like, there's no internet. My dad was like, you're never really going to be able to wear any of it unless we order from it. Remember the JCPenney catalogs, the Sears catalogs? He's like, so maybe at Christmas from the catalogs you can order like a jacket or a jersey, but I'm gonna have to order from you by phone in a Sears catalog. That's the only way you're gonna be able to wear that stuff to school. So I don't know what else to tell you.
Right.
And so I was like, I don't care. And anyway, 31 years later, I stuck with my team, and there's been a lot of good times too. So, wait, you live in Arkansas, right? Who's your favorite NFL team?
So, because we don't have one, right? We're one
Right.
of the few states that has no professional sports at all. And so, we're kind of split. I would say most people are either Kansas City fans because we're just 3 hours south of Kansas City,
Okay.
and then a lot of people are Dallas Cowboy fans. That's not in my household, but those are usually the two that are. Oddly enough, though, my son is a big Patriots fan, and so I kind of understand your story because he didn't grow up in a
No,
Patriots
yeah.
household. It was just something that like he enjoyed. Of course, great players at the time, and so that really helped influence him.
How
But
how how old is
you
he?
just never know.
How old is your son?
He is now 20.
Okay, so his whole life, all he saw were Patriots winning the Super Bowl, so that helps. Okay. All right. Yeah. My mom was born and raised. My dad's from Philly. My mom was born and raised in Boston, so I have a lot of family in Boston, all Patriots fans. The last 20 years, God. Yeah.
So, the question that I like to ask everyone that comes on this show is out of all the music in the whole wide world, how did you find the Dave Matthews Band?
Yeah. So again, I'm 38, so like I got into music young. I listened to so much radio as a growing up in the 90s. And DMB was on the radio. Like I loved What Would You Say? I liked Ants Marching, the radio hits. I
Yeah.
liked um I liked Crush. And so I enjoyed those songs. So it was always in my head. They weren't my favorite band when I was 12 years old or when I was
Right.
in middle school, but I knew who they were because they were pretty
Right.
popular. And I
Yeah.
knew, I remember my friend's older brother who, when I was 12, he was 17, like a
Mhm.
junior in high school, and he had a date. Just it wasn't the band, it was just Dave with a guitar poster in
Uh-huh.
his bedroom. And when you're 12, a 17-year-old might as well be 30. I was like, he's such an adult, like he's so old. When I saw that poster, I was like, that's a band for older. That's a band for like older people, you know. I can't get in that band when I'm 12 or 13 because I'm not old enough yet. That's what I thought.
Yeah. And then what changed?
So the end of my freshman year of high school, that summer was the summer of 2002, and in July, Busted Stuff was coming out in the middle of July in
Mm.
2002. So the Sunday paper comes at my mom's house, and the Sunday paper, I don't know, maybe where you're from, the Sunday paper is like loaded with extra stuff.
I loved the Sunday paper.
So Best Buy would have this big, like, booklet on Sundays, and I would look at it sometimes because it has CDs and it has the pictures and stuff, and all. I liked all that. So I was looking at I just happened to be looking at what new music's coming out, and there was like a big spread of like DMB, and it said this Tuesday, Dave Matthews Band's new album, Busted Stuff, is coming out, and if you buy it, you can buy any other studio DMB album for half off. And
Wow.
I was like, you know what? I've always liked this band. Like I always liked their radio hits
Hmm.
and some other stuff. But I was like, I want to buy their new album. And Where Are You Going was on the radio all the time. That was the first single off the album leading into it. So that was just like, I just remember that was played nonstop. So okay, it has a pretty decent single off of it. Okay. Um, So I said, Mom, I said, are you going to be up by the mall this anytime this coming week? And she's like, this is in July. She's like, actually, she's like, yeah. I said, here's what Best Buy is doing. I said, can you buy Dave Matthews' new album? And the second one is half off. She said, well, if I buy the new album, which one of these in the pictures do you want for the second album that's half off? I
Right.
said, I have no idea. Just pick one of them. And she's like, really? I said, yeah. I said, get the new one, get the second one half off, and pick. I don't care. Just pick one. And she's like, whatever. Okay. She's like, I will be up there. I'll get it for you. No problem. Well, Tuesday, Wednesday rolls around, whatever, middle of the week. I walk in, on my bed is two CDs, Busted Stuff, and later she told me, she's like, I just like the one that was purple with the merry-go-round on it. She's like, I think I think that's cute. So she's like, is that good? I was like, which would be obviously Under the Table and Dreaming, and it ended up being perfect because that is their first studio album with RCA. So it was perfect that she actually ended up getting me the first. So I had Busted Stuff and Under the Table, and that summer I wore both of them out down to the nubs because that's all I listened to. And then into the school year in September, now it's September 2002, it's all I listened to. And then I was hooked. I was.
About the music, like, okay, so you knew about Dave Matthews because of your 17-year-old friend, like you knew, and then you heard the music on the radio. But when you got those two albums, and I can just like imagine, because as a teenager for me, my room was like my everything, and I would listen to music in my room and just like do whatever. But when you put those CDs in your player and you really kind of just listen to Busted Stuff the first time, and then Under the Table and Dreaming the first time, what stuck out to you? What made you go, I'm going to listen to that again? Like, because you had to have like it, but what was it that you liked about it?
I liked everything. I felt like there wasn't a bad song. Like I didn't skip songs. I just thought everything was good. I loved his voice. I loved the lyrics. The music is super original. I'll always defend. The DMB came out in the heart of the grunge era. The lead singer was playing acoustic guitar, and there's a violin and a saxophone player on either sides of him. How would anybody think that they could make it? And not just that they could make it, that's how good they were. That's how good Dave was lyrically and musically, and the band, and everything sounded so good that they made it in the heart of the grunge era. They didn't have an electric guitar. That's how good they were.
Yeah.
But anyway, those two albums, there wasn't a bad song on any of the albums.
There's
I
not.
just
And you know what? I hate to say this, but I know it's out there because I've heard it. So many people discount the Busted Stuff album, and it is one of my favorites.
I know why. I know why.
Why? I mean, does it have to do with all the Lily White shit, or
It's
okay?
exactly why. It's exactly why. Because if they're
Yeah,
being if the haters are being honest, then believe me, there's not everything this band does that there's things that I could say that, oh, I don't like that they did this or did that
sure,
throughout their
sure.
career, but people get all uppity about the Lily White sessions. We have those versions, and they're better than Busted Stuff. Busted Stuff is a watered down version of the Lily White sessions, and I don't I don't think that's actually necessarily true, but there are versions of the Lily White sessions of those songs that are better, and there's versions on Busted Stuff, in my opinion, that are better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, I think the studio version of Grace Is Gone on Busted Stuff is absolutely perfect and incredible. I think Gray Street, people will very much disagreeing on this. I think Gray Street's version on Busted Stuff is better than Gray Street's version on Lily White Session. So, I don't know. But people get uppity.
If someone's listening to this and they're like, what are they talking about when they say Lily White sessions? Is that something that you could kind of just clear up for anyone that may be listening that's not familiar with like the deeper history of the band?
Yeah, so the Lily White sessions were before the 2000 tour, before the DMB Summer 2000 tour. Dave wrote a new batch of songs, and those songs were what would end up being Busted Stuff. But Busted Stuff, Gray Street, um, Raven, Captain. Big Eyed Fish, Bartender, Grace Is Gone, all those incredible songs. you know what I'm talking about, the songs. He wrote those songs, and then they went into the summer tour in June of 2000, and those were all the new songs that they played. So that was that tour. And then afterwards, after the tour, or it might have been before that tour, they were having issues with the producer Steve Lillywhite, who
Hmm.
produced all their albums up to them. That's where you get the Lillywhite sessions, Steve Lillywhite, his last name.
Yes.
They were having issues in the studio with finishing the album, and the story is that they gave it to RCA Records, and RCA Records said, "There's not a single on the album, and it's too dark too. It's kind of depressing. You need to go back and write a single." And maybe lighten it up a little bit, Dave. What are you, depressed? Like, it's a little bit dark. And which I always find annoying because Gray Street, how is that not a single?
How could that? Because you know what? I don't know, because that is such an empowering song for so many people. How could they have looked past that?
I don't know how Gray Street's not a single, and even a song that didn't. So two songs didn't make busted. Two songs from the Lillywhite sessions didn't make busted stuff, and that was "Sweet Up and Down" and JTR. To me, "Sweet Up and Down" could have been a second or a third single. The chorus has such a good hook. Lillywhite Sessions gets scrapped because, again, the record company was like, "We don't hear a single. It's a little bit too dark. We don't think this is going to work on the radio or with the masses." So there was so much fighting and so much tension. The band fires Steve Lillywhite, who did all their albums in the '90s. They fired him, and that's when you get Every Day. They had to do something really quick. They brought in Glenn Ballard, and I think a lot of people know the rest of that. Every Day, they recorded Every Day in 10 days. Dave wrote Every Day in 10 days. They recorded it in 2 weeks. Press release, boom, and it's out into the public. And the first time Dave ever goes electric, and there was a lot of backlash with that album, a lot, but it sold well, so that's all the record company cared about. But
I'm
um,
a little partial to that album just because the space between is on every day. I love
well,
every day.
I just say something about the Everyday album that got so much crap in 2001, in 2002, and even a little bit in '03. The actual songs on that album have aged live, have in the live setting have aged very well. I would say like 8 out of the 12 songs have aged really well, and they're good songs, like 8 out of the 12. So in the end, it was actually a pretty good album. I could hear So Right, Full to Think, What You Are, Space Between at almost every show. I would never complain. What hardcore fan would complain about Full to Think and So Right at every show? Those are great songs.
That's the one thing I didn't tell you is, like, when we start talking about Dave, and you know this already, like if you're talking to a buddy, if you're talking to anybody that's like wanting to hear what you have to say about the Dave Matthews Band, it just kind of goes off in tangents. But then don't worry, we're going to circle back around because I haven't forgotten anything that you've said, because I like the Dave Matthews Band, right? And everyone that is listening to this is going to be able to catch up. So don't worry. But I do want to go back to yourself after you get those records and
Yep.
you're like, okay, I love them. So the natural progression in most fans is, we're waiting for the next album, or we're waiting to go see them live. And so which one came for you first?
So that fall in 2002, my third album that I got from them was in the mall, and I got Dave and Tim live at Luther College. So wow, what a third one to get. Um, so then we're getting into three, and I'm like, okay, the summer of '03 tour. I have to. Now I'm obsessed with the band, and I have to go to a show. Like I didn't have my license yet, but I had to go to a show, and I picked what would end up being still so I've been to 43 shows.
First,
I feel blessed to see him 43 times. So the summer of '03 is coming, and I picked the Meadowlands to go to, which was the same at the time, the same exact arena that Listener Supported it was played in. August 25th, 2003. is my first show when I was 16, and the set list, it's still my favorite set list of any show I've ever been to. Um, I took my best friend. We go. He was already playing acoustic guitar and he was getting pretty good. And I tried to really get him into the band. He was like, like, for at least 6 months. And he was like, I don't know. I like the radio stuff. I'm not so sure. Blah, 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 blah. Whatever his reasons were. I take him
Yeah.
to the show. We go. We're on like the 200 level. We sneak down side stage, 11th row. He's like, "Oh my god," really into it. The people behind us were so nice to let like young people. They were in their 20s. A girl taps me on my shoulder. She's like, "Do you want to smoke a bowl with me?" I'm like, "What?"
How did
I was like, "What?" We smoked with them. We're 16. Holy crap. We're 11th row now at the show. Anyway, our little minds were blown, and I
Yes.
turned him into it. He never missed a show for a decade after that. It blew his mind, and so that was my first show. And then 10 days later, a guy gives me a call, a friend, and goes, "Hey, in Camden, my mom has a couple extra lawn tickets. Do you want to go with us? Because I know you just went to the show 10 days ago." I was like, "Yes." So I show number two was 10 days later.
Wow.
And I was off and running then. Yeah, it was great.
Now, at what point did you pick up on the fact that going to your second show, you were not going to hear the exact same songs that you heard in your show 10 days ago?
Oh no, I knew that going in. I was like literally all of the fall tour of 2002 when I really started following them. I would set list watch every single night. As on the warehouse page, the set lists would like the set would pop up song after song after song. I would watch every single set list, and then because of that, my show is in August. My first show, the
Uh-huh.
entire summer, I'm just set list watching every show. I was an insane person before my first show, and then after the first show was gasoline on fire.
That's so after your first and second show, as most people do, there's such a big difference between just listening to them and then seeing them because, especially like on your second show, ending up 11th row, so close, you can see them on stage and how, I mean, they're performers of music, but they're also like performing visual effects, if you will, between the dancing and, just all the talking between each other and Carter back there smiling and
Yeah,
just the talking between each other. It kind of gives you a whole different view of the band. And of course, at 11th row, you were able to see that. Was that something that you were really interested in, being able to see the technical side of it?
absolutely. I'm more of a visual person, so I loved all that stuff. I always felt like the original five guys they had interesting personalities. Like, even Leroy, Leroy didn't move around much, but that was his personality. And then I loved when Boyd was in the band. It would come up to Dave and they would do their little battles and go in a little
Mhm.
circle with each other. And yeah, no,
There's not a lot of bands that do what the Dave Matthews Band is doing as far as traveling so much, but also giving each audience their own very different show. There may be a few repeats, but for the most part, it's a different vibe at every show. And so that keeps people coming back for more. And so, from my point of view, show 20 was just as good as show one for me. The only thing that separated shows for me, and I want you to talk to this point too, once you get going and you start meeting people and you end up seeing those same people at different shows, it kind of changes it a little bit because then yeah, you're there for the music, but also you've just met some really cool people who are also big Dave Matthews Band fans. um, is that something that you have you found a sense of community within the fan base of the band?
no. So it's totally important who you go to shows with and
Yeah.
who you see it with. When I was in high school, so many of my friends, we would go and do the tailgates in Camden, New Jersey,
Mhm.
and those were, Philly. Philly knows how to tailgate. Those are massive tailgates. It was a big deal, and it was so fun. And we would get to the lots at 2 o'clock. I mean, 2 or 3 o'clock, tailgate till
Yeah.
for 4 hours, 5 hours, the entire day. Those are the funnest. Those are the funnest shows. It's so fun to be in a lawn, with 10, 15 people. We had a big cruise go, and it's totally fun.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. But it's not hard to find groups. And I always encourage people, if you've never been to a show and you don't like the people that you're sitting next to, you don't have to be where you're assigned to be. I mean, you can't go down to the pit, and you can't go down to reserve seating, but you can always go back to the back. And there is always a party in the line. All you have to do is look back there and you'll find 20 or 30 sets of people that are just losing it. So if you were to go back there, they would just take you in as family. And that's such a
Yeah,
cool thing about the fans is, most of the people that are there are really in love with what is happening on stage. Now, every show, there's going to be people that got free tickets from a radio contest or had box whatever from a company. But for the most part, I'd say the people that show up at Dave Matthews Band concerts are really into what they're seeing.
yeah, absolutely. It's there's a reason why people have gone to 300 shows. They have their core fans for sure.
I
Um,
really do. So are
and
you connected inside of course, I know that you and I connected on Facebook. Are you part of any of the hundreds of groups that are out there, which is just another way to kind of dig into the Dave Matthews Bands in different ways, whether you collect posters or uh, ticket trading or whatever the case may be? Have you dug into any of those
I'm
social
I'm I'm
media
part of
groups?
the best DMB fan group there is. The DMB Couch Tour. Come on now.
That's true. I mean, that really is probably the most popular ones because it gives us so much. It is incredible that people are so
You have no idea if that existed 20 years ago. I don't even. I wouldn't have gone out in the summertime at
yeah.
night.
It's so incredibly nice. If you don't know what we're talking about, there's a group on Facebook called the DMB Couch Tour, or people join this group. And if they're at a show, especially if they have a really great view, sometimes it's from the back, and that's cool too. But they record the um, performance live. And so you can sit at home or in your car or at work, whatever you're doing, and watch the show live, all for free. So you do have the ability to go to every show that the Dave Matthews Band or any parts of the Dave Matthews Band does, because there's always someone going live on Couch Tour. And so we're so appreciative of that. If you haven't checked it out, definitely do, because tour season is not that far away. We are
No.
almost in April. And so
But
there's something.
guys, you join that Facebook group, the MB Couch Tour.
Yeah,
You get every show for free. Someone's got
exactly.
their iPhone up, and you know how technology, how good it's gotten. You get to see every summer show for free. It's a great thing.
It's incredible. And we'll see what the future holds, because I can't remember if it was last year or in 2023 when the band themselves kind of brought in a company to live stream and with different angles from the cameras. I really enjoyed that. And it was free for the fans. I know there were some rumors about them continuing that maybe in the future, but having like a fee associated with that. And I have no objections to that because of the multi-view cameras, being able to watch Carter like you're feeling like you're in his chair with him and watching what he does behind that massive drum set, and then just seeing the crowd. Like, it's worth so much to me. But again, for free on the Couch Tour. And it's usually pretty good views. We've almost got somebody in the pit front row
Oh yeah.
streaming all the time.
Oh yeah. No, I watched your one interview with Two Steph, right? I watched like 6 months ago, and I just remember she always has good videos, whether it's on her Instagram story or she always has these great videos. I'm like, that girl's camera's amazing. Whatever she uses, she always has great stuff. Um, but there's a lot of people in the community that kill it. That I mean, I have no idea how you put your arm up for 2 hours and do that,
I
but
don't know.
people do it for people, so that's
Yeah.
really nice.
So if you've been in your relationship with the Dave Matthews Band for very long and you're looking for more things to do, I can tell you what you can do. There are several websites, DMB Almanac, the DMB Hub, that help you track not only just statistics in general as far as the band, like how many times have they played this song, but it tracks your statistics. So every time you go to a show, it's going to start keeping track of how many times have you heard Seek Up. And then if you want to filter it even more, what was the longest out of those 4 times you've heard it? So, and
Yeah.
just from like a history standpoint, the guys, I can't really speak about the hub because I've never met the people that do them, but God bless you for doing it, because I am the girl at the show with the hub pretty much always live, because I want to click on it to see when the last time it was played.
Yeah.
So,
No,
you know,
that's an incredible app. And DMB Almanac has been one of my favorite websites for at least the last 15 years. It's incredible. I'm on that website once a day, just whatever, surfing it, just checking out stuff. I mean, you could DMB Almanac, just go to 1992, and they have set lists from 1990. It's crazy. It's a great. Those people do an incredible job.
I can't speak for the hub. I don't know. And I'd love to have them on the show. So if anybody's listening to this that knows those people, tell them the Space Between would love to like collect how in the world did they start that? Because I know that it's fans. But I have talked with the guys from the DMB Almanac, and they've been on the show a couple of times, and they really are doing all of this as kind of like I'm doing this podcast. It's just a passion project. It's not that they're getting paid for it, because they are not. They're actually taking donations to like keep the website up and all the things that it
Right.
costs to actually produce things. But the history that they have documented on this band is really just amazing. And you can go into their platform and even listen to the very first tapers recordings of songs in the early 90s. So there's just access for you or I or whoever to go in and listen to those very early, very um, uncommon songs to listen to. But it just blows me away what the fans of this band are doing. I mean, that alone is insane.
There is no fan website on the planet as good at. We're very lucky as DMB fans. Um, the Grateful Dead, Fish, Bruce Springsteen, set lists, bands that have toured live so much, and their set lists dating back decades and decades. Though they don't have fan websites like DMB Almanac. You would think that the Grateful Dead would. They don't. Not like that website. We're
Right.
very, very lucky how detailed, how it's there are other fan websites of Fish, of the Dead, but it's not like that.
Right.
It's not even close to like that website. The DMB Almanac, we're super, super lucky. It is the best fan website for set lists, for all that stuff, for history that there is of any band, and we're lucky that our band gets that.
We're so
Incredible.
damn lucky. And I know that I'm sure the hub does too. They have someone live at every single show that's feeding back information to them in live time so that they can keep it up in real time. And so, just the work, I think about all these people, doing 9 to 5 jobs and then also doing that, and keeping up with that. And because that's pressure, especially when you think about the summer months where it's show after show after show and they're having to
Yeah.
hit and document it. And, I know a lot of that is just inputting stuff, but it's a lot of work and taking time away from whatever. But again, it's a passion project. It's something that they love so much, and they get nerdy about it too. Like they love it. That's why they're doing it. So for all of us other nerdy Dave Matthews Band fans, definitely check out
How
the hub.
many how many guys? Because I don't know how many guys run that website.
I think the last time I asked, it was around 8.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah. Well,
That's
yeah,
pretty
no, they
good.
definitely, and that didn't start out as obviously, it's just kind of grown. And because the website itself has grown so much, because they're still documenting the past, like way long ago, as things are coming to them. Because there are people, and I was unaware of this, but I talk to the Almanac very often just because they know that I'm a nerd. And so, like, I'll get random texts that just have facts, and I'm like, thank you. I love that. That was the best text all day. But there are tapes that exist in the world that people are never going to give us, that they're never going to, until they die and their kids probably send it to the Goodwill. And then you have found a treasure and you don't even know it. But there's so much documenting that hasn't been done because it's just not available. But, I'm excited that these guys are continuing to do it. And I think with time, they're going to have everything documented. I really do.
That's incredible. That's unbelievable. I want another video circulation of like a 1992 show when they were at Miller's or Tracks. There was one really good one on YouTube, the June '92 video. It's so good. I want one more or two more of those. They got to be out there somewhere, right?
Well, hopefully someone's listening. Hey, if you've got a video from the early 90s, 91, 92, 93, let us know. Let us know. We'd love to see them. I mean,
And
obviously, if it was,
and if you do, why have you been keeping it for 31 years in your
I
attic?
know.
Come on.
I know. There's people that want to see it. It's a national treasure, at least to us, right? So
Yeah.
2025, can you believe that you are still listening to the same music that you were listening to when you were 13 years old?
I guess it's so weird. Like in 2002, I thought I was like late getting into the band. I was like, oh, they've been around for like the 90s are over, and they were such a big band in the 90s. Like, I feel like I kind of got into it late. Oh man. Now I look back on it, I'm like, I was there like it minimum the first third of their career. Like I was just there on year 10, and now they're in year, 30 34 coming up. So it's crazy, right? No, to answer your question though, I don't know. Like I've loved them so much for so long, and it wasn't always like there was a couple peaks and valleys of here and there, but overall, um, I don't know. Yeah, because anybody that would know me would tell you if there was one person that'd still be going to it'd be Jeff because he just in and he's gonna ride that till it's over.
Absolutely, because yeah, I mean, the best is yet to come, right? I think they keep getting better and better. And that's my opinion, but they're killing it right now, and they've been doing it for so long. Um, so we'll see how much longer we have. I'm just so
I
excited that there's
I
so much
agree. I
information.
agree that after the pandemic, 2021 on, they've been on fire. Like they were sound better than they did in Buddy's first 2 years, 2018, 2019. That took a little bit of getting used to because there was a new guy in the band and he has to
Yeah.
get used to the songs. But after the pandemic, 2021 until now, I think they've sounded absolutely incredible.
That makes sense because anytime that I don't know how long they had a relationship or whoever had a relationship with Buddy that kind of got him into the band. Was it? I know I've heard somewhere that
From what I've heard, it was Rashawn.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, no matter someone's background, like when you bring someone in, even like in an office situation, you bring someone in that has a different background, like you just got to find that groove. And so I think 2 years, you're exactly right. They were stronger than they had ever been because they'd really kind of worked out all the things. And I listened to an interview the other day. Buddy was just on a podcast, and I cannot remember the name of the podcast, but they talked to him about kind of transferring to the Dave Matthews Band was such an odd transfer because of his past life working with Usher, Ariana Grande, so many uh, big named people. And so to switch over to a jam band, especially a jam band that probably Ariana Grande does not know about, what a shift, And so
Wait a
he
second. Wait a second. Wait a second. I watched an interview. Ariana Grande. They asked Buddy Strong. Buddy Strong didn't know. He's like, I knew Ants Marching. He
he didn't
didn't even
even
know the band.
So they really did just hire him for the skill that he brought, right? And so then that's even more reason for it just to take some time to like work out the whatevers. But he's done it. He has brought such enthusiasm. There's not a time where I look at him and he is just not full on looking like he just won the lottery. Um,
He
he
did.
just is such a compliment. I mean, he did. I don't know if that's what he thinks about it, but I mean, he's here and he's staying, so he must love it. But he has brought so much positivity to the band, and I think everyone genuinely loves him. We're not saying that we don't miss the original sounds of the band, but we're saying that he is an awesome player. He has such skill, and I can see why they recruited him into the band.
Yeah. No. I real quick about what you're talking about that interview. Do you remember the part where the guy said, "So what was your interview process like with the band?" He said, "Well, they said come to Virginia, and I went into this old church that Dave had bought and he's restoring. So you go into this old church and there's a piano, and Dave said, okay, can you play the tune Steady as We Go?" And he said, "Yeah, okay." And he played Steady as We Go for 2 minutes, 3 minutes. Dave sang the song. Song was over, and Dave looked at him and said, "That was really good. Do you want to leave and go grab some lunch?" And he was like, "We just played one song." And then they go to lunch, and Dave said, "You're good." He goes, "You're in the band." I was
Would
like,
you not just die to hear that audition?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And that's somewhere. Somebody's got it. These are the tapes we're after. We want to see the audition.
Seriously, to your point, that the band seems so happy that when Buddy's in it and just Buddy, how he is, his personality. 34 years of this band, right? Don't they all seem to like it? 34 years of a band would be like 34 years somewhat of a marriage too, right? It's going to be rocky something. Not everything's going to be perfect all the time. And I'm sure that they've had that, but 34 years into it, it seems like they really do they love each other. They really care about each other. They want to be with each other. So who gets that too after 34 years in a band? Not many people. So the fact that Dave and Carter still love each other to death, Stefan, Carter, Dave, all three of them guys they're brothers.
Absolutely. They've grown up together.
Yeah, yeah.
Legit grown up together.
Stefan was 17 when he joined the band. It's like,
I know. It's crazy how young he was, and just the stories of him getting to have to be snuck in because he was underage. And it's that history that not everyone is into. And there's a million other bands that I listen to that I don't give a fuck about their history, but this is the one band that I'm just choked up about. It's because there's so many cool parts of it, and obviously it's my favorite band, so that's the one I've kind of tried to dissect as much as possible. But everyone, just the connections of how they even knew each other, how Carter and uh, uh, Leroy, how all of that before the scene stuff, like Miller's, like Tim
yep.
Reynolds, like all that before that really interests me. Just the connections that were formed and how it all worked out. Because
Absolutely. They all
it
lived, Carter and Boyd lived 2 blocks from each other. Leroy lived a couple blocks away from them growing up. By the way, I went to Charlottesville last fall for that the 2013 fall tour. I drove down by myself, went solo, drove down to Charlottesville. The night two was my 40th show. Or
oh
no,
wow.
night one was 40 and night two was number 41. So I wanted to go to where the band started. I went to Miller's. I said for my number 41 show, I got to go to Charlottesville. And so it just lined up where I drove down. To your point, going back with the fans, I went by myself. The first night, I met these 2 brothers in this bar. They were so nice. We were drinking together, talking together. We got an Uber together to the arena. Super nice. The second night, me and this one guy, he was a little bit younger than me, maybe like in his late 20s.
Oh,
We just talked about the band, blah 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 blah. He's like, "Do you want to walk to the show? Because the weather's pretty nice." I'm like, "How far is it?" He's like, "I don't know, about 2 miles." I was like, "I'll walk with you." And me and him, I met him an hour before that. Me and him
right.
just, we walked to the show. We weren't sitting near each other. We just shook hands when we got to the arena and said, "Hey, it was nice to meet you." He said, "Nice to meet you too. Have a good show." And we just went on our way. But that was awesome. Both nights, walked into a bar, didn't know anybody across from Miller's, and both nights met friends and just guys that kind of, we all went to the show together, made sure we got there safe, and it was just a good time.
That's the way the fans are. Not every fan, but it has been my experience that a lot of times it goes the way you're just talking about, like walking into a bar where there's going to be other fans that are there to watch the show, and for the most part, people just they're going to take you in and be like, "Hey, are you here for the Dave show? Like, come over here." Like,
But this was Charlottesville. People like literally you could throw a baseball to Miller's where we were at talking. People were there for a reason. It wasn't a
Yeah.
summer show in the lawn and you're dragging your boyfriend or girlfriend at it. People were there. They wanted it that particular weekend. They wanted to see that show.
Right.
They were
Yeah.
they were hardcore.
Yeah.
Oh,
Parker still loves
can
the
I
Dave
ask you a
Matthews.
question?
Yes.
I'm so jealous that like all the time you get to go from what I see in your pictures and stuff. You get to go to Mexico for Dave and Tim like all the time. You how
I've
lucky?
only been twice,
Oh, okay.
which is a lot, I know.
Two more than
Um,
me, but yeah.
I have to,
Can you tell me like just a little bit about that experience? Because that I one day I'll get there. But
so, the funny thing is I love a beach and especially an all-inclusive resort. Who doesn't, right? But I also, until I went, had the thought processes that like, I am a full band girl. I don't know if I will enjoy it without the horns. And, I love the horn section. That's drawn to that. Or God, there's no drums. Like, I don't know. I don't know if it's going to be worth all that money because it's $1 billion to get to go to Mexico to see two out of the Dave Matthews Band. So I go the first
right.
year, and I'll say the reason I went is because I had a very, very good opportunity laid before me. And so I took it up. Um, and what I can say is I do not believe that anymore. I know now why Dave and Tim have been doing their own little breakout sessions for so long now. And not that I hadn't heard them, I had. I definitely heard them and thought that they were great, but still just a very full, like the full band. But standing there in front of them, and Mexico is like one of the smallest venues that you could go to. And it's just like they're just right here. Um, Watching them, especially Dave, because Dave is almost all in my world, he is almost overshadowed by the guitar sounds that he makes are overshadowed by everything else that is, like whatever's going on, especially the horns can kind of drown him out.
Yeah.
So you hear his voice, but you don't hear necessarily his guitar without like kind of listening. So I'd never thought about like what skill level is Dave. I always knew he was like a great guitar player, but I never could hear him. And so in Mexico, I got to just laser focus in on his abilities as a guitar player. Also, Tim Reynolds got to laser into him and just dial in. And I left thinking, these guys are better than I ever could have said. And so it made me fall more in love with the band, which I didn't need to do, right? I've got a problem already. But if you ever get a chance to see just Dave and Tim, and obviously they do it outside of Mexico from time to time, go see them. It really does shine a light on how very incredibly talented these men are. Um, just so thankful that I got to experience that.
Yeah. I One of these times I gotta, even if Dave and Tim, remember Dave and Tim did that 2017 summer tour and I didn't get to see it and I really regret that. But I need to,
I think they'll be doing more together. I do.
I hope so. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think they both really still enjoy playing their own things. They do their own things from time to time. I mean, look, gosh, in 2025, Dave's going off on his own to Montana. And who would not like a ticket to that? I would love to go to Montana to hear Dave sing by himself. Um,
How about last week him in Montana?
I know.
That solo show. That
Gosh,
set
why
was
are we not members
22
of that
songs.
club?
That looked
It
great.
was so nice. So nice. I don't even know anybody that knew about it. I just saw pictures on social media going, oh my God, Dave Matthews just played a show at this ultra rich club.
Yeah. I know.
Awesome.
I know.
That's awesome. I mean, I would love to see him by himself too. I haven't seen him by himself. He's really incredible. But, I'd love to see them all individually. They all, again, have such talent. That they can go off and do other things, play on their own, play with other people. And it's cool to see how flexible they are in doing that. They can do more than just the music of the Dave Matthews Band. They're all just so incredibly talented in their own very special, unique ways.
they've toured so much over the past 30 years that they deserve to do whatever they want when they want, you know.
That's right. Except quit. We don't want them to quit yet.
No, don't do that. Don't, or at least if there's a final tour, just let everybody know there's a final
Let us
tour, and then
know. I need to
yeah,
know that it's the last time. I need to know.
exactly. Probably would be in Charlottesville, something like that. But
It's possible. And, I haven't thought that far into it, like,
yeah,
because I try to ignore that most of the time. But yeah, there's no telling. I'm sure that they will do some
how
big
many how many
thing.
show how many shows have you been to?
I have it in my phone. One moment. I think I'm close to 70, but one moment and I will
Wow,
tell
and
you.
you started 10 years ago. Wow,
Well, that's right. But 2023 was a year where I did 24 shows in one summer.
good for you! Holy
Now,
crap!
I mean, I lost my whole world that year.
So have you done all the big? Have you done SPAC and Deer Creek and Alpine and
Yeah,
Gorge?
yeah,
You've done all four. You've done all four of those?
I have done them all.
Wow. Can you because I haven't, can you put in order SPAC, Deer Creek, Alpine and Gorge?
I
In your
can.
in your opinion.
Yeah, because I was fixing to say that's going to be my opinion. So I'm fixing to go to Jazz Fest in New Orleans, and that will be my 70th time to see the band.
Oh my God, that's perfect. That's so awesome. Oh my God.
It sounds insane, but hey, there's people that like I said, 500. So um
You have such a great husband too. That's amazing.
the 2023 was not an easy year for him because I was gone like the whole summer. I'm surprised that we're not divorced after that summer, but he has grown to love the band so much more just because he's been exposed to it since I'm doing the podcast and always talking about them. He really loves it now. And so now it's made it like a couples thing that we do. He doesn't do the podcast, but he supports it and he goes to all the shows with me now. And he really has his own like circle of Dave friends that text him and call him. And so, it's all just making sure that he's included. But when I had first started, yeah, that 2023 was a very rough year on him. But okay, let's say you said SPAC, The Gorge, Deer Creek, and Alpine.
Yeah,
Those
like the big four, what people call it. Yeah.
I am going to be the worst person that you can ask this because I will never go back to the gorge. And that is going to sound crazy to many of you and maybe even you, Jeff. I like people to bring when I'm paying thousands of dollars to go somewhere, which is what it costs to go to Washington and from Arkansas.
Sure.
I want a lot of things that is not going to happen at the gorge. Like there's not a fast food joint right here. Yeah, there's food. There's running water all the time, electricity. I don't want to camp. I want a swimming pool. And like that was not happening at the gorge. Now, what I will say about the gorge is everyone should do it at least once because it is a magnificent view. And the band sounds really, really good there. And you get 3 nights of intense music. And there's a lot of connection with the community.
Right.
I'm just not a camper, so I will not be going back. And I've heard a million people say, well, go get an Airbnb, but I'm cool. I'm trying to hit every venue, so I can't go back to the gorge. So that would be number 4 on my list, which is
Okay.
going to be a lot of people's number 1. Out of all the rest, SPAC's a tricky bitch because, I had heard all about SPAC. You gotta go. And so that's why I went. SPAC is a 2-night. So Friday, Saturday. It is a
I heard go to SPAC. Do not go on the lawn in SPAC though. You better
yeah,
get
that's
seats if you're
exactly
gonna
what I'm
go.
fixing to say. It is as if they built a building and then put a ramp through the outside of the building, and the lawn is behind the building. So the people in the lawn, you don't have a shot in hell to see the stage, not a shot in hell. And it's like an ant hill, like for real, like a billion ants in the lawn. And if you get at the front of the lawn and try to go to the bathroom, good luck. You're never, ever getting back to your spot. And so, what I will say is if you're going to go to SPAC, it is beautiful. I highly recommend going to that city, Saratoga Springs. It was gorgeous. I loved everything, but get inside the building. So you have to get reserved, or you have to get pit, or do not waste your time at SPAC. And I know that people will hate my answer, but that is the way I felt about it. And it sounds like you've heard the same thing.
Yeah, don't go in the lawn. It's back. Get seats, and you'll have an incredible time.
Yeah, you'll be in the building. You'll feel like you're supposed to be there instead of like
Now,
hanging out.
what I've heard is the Deer Creek lawn is the funnest time you can have as a DMB
Lawn
fan.
is amazing. I love Deer Creek. It is a unique venue because it is just literally in the middle of cornfields. You just pass all this corn, and there's even cornfields right next to the venue, because I remember going out and taking my picture in the cornfields. Like, what the hell? We've drug ourselves out to the middle of nowhere and had this concert. But the city is so proud to have us there, and the venue, which is not called Deer Creek anymore. It used to be called Deer Creek. Now it's called
Yeah, starts with an R,
whatever,
like rough.
whatever it's
Yeah,
called, that
yeah,
no one
yeah.
calls it that. They are just so incredibly welcoming, and their customer service is top notch. I mean, just everything you would want is there. Many people will claim Deer Creek as their favorite, just because of that feeling of hospitality there. And we know that the band loves that venue. So, and it's one of the less expensive 2-night trips, because Indiana it's in the middle of the country, but it's not super expensive to stay there. And you can get lawn seats, and they're great. So I highly recommend Deer Creek. And then the last one, Alpine. I love Alpine. It's just an for now. It looks like it's a every other year location.
Right.
Um, it's of course in the summer, and where they play is at a ski resort. So there is a resort that you can stay in there, that you can look at the slopes. It's beautiful. There's no snow, of course, because you're in the middle of summer, but there's a lot of history there too. Um, we stayed at the little resort there, and all of Dave's truck drivers stayed there. I wasn't prepared for how fun it was going to be. It was amazing. But there's a lot of people that camp for Alpine, so there's a lot of different housing opportunities, but it is in the middle of nowhere. But the history of Alpine is very interesting. I'm a huge Stevie Ray Vaughan fan, and I did not know that his very last concert was at Alpine. And when he left Alpine that night and got in his helicopter, I believe it was either airplane or helicopter. I believe it was a helicopter. It crashed that night, and that is when Stevie Ray Vaughan died. Was right there at Alpine.
Yep. That plane was at Alpine. He was leaving Alpine Valley. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So there's a lot of history about Stevie Ray Vaughan if you're into him.
I heard a podcast that you talked about going to a Metallica concert with your husband, and you're like, you know what? Saw Metallica live. Wasn't that good. I was like, what?
I'm not saying their concert was good. I was saying their voices were not good.
Okay.
Don't send me hate mail. Like I'm not for it. Like heavy metal, but I went because my husband was totally into it. What I will say about
Yeah.
Metallica is their visual effects are spot on. Like,
Oh, yeah.
just from a visual standpoint, you can't do any better than Metallica. But I'm not
No,
in.
I'm teasing you. I remember you said that, and I just started laughing because I'm like, at least she's really honest. You were like, saw Metallica live, meh, not really my thing. It's like, what? I thought that was funny. I was like, wow, saw Metallica live, and you're just like, it was, I don't know, not my thing.
I can say I did it. It made my
That's
husband
okay.
happy, and he totally like jammed out the whole time. And I stood there and just watched people, because it was a great place to watch people lose their minds in a whole different way than what I was used to seeing. Jam bands. People are just kind of floating around, like happy. Like, that is not happening at a Metallica concert. Like, it is very like.
Isn't it fun watching mosh pits when you're not in the middle of them?
That is fun, actually. And there was one, and we weren't that close. Oh.
So what 2025 shows are you going to? You told me your 70th is coming up, like just in 4 weeks at
Yeah, Jazz Fest.
yeah.
So that's, of course, in New Orleans, Louisiana. That is the last weekend of April. Jazz Fest is actually 2 weekends, but the Dave Matthews Band is the headliner the first weekend of Jazz Fest. There'll also be a band there by the name of Goose, if anyone has heard of that. They will be there Thursday night of Jazz Fest. So we're going to get down there hopefully probably just in time to sneak them in because I have never seen them and everyone talks about Goose. And
I've
since I'm
seen
going to be there, why not?
Goose is great. Seen him 4 times. They're great.
Oh, awesome. Well, we're excited
Yeah.
about getting the experience. I've never been to New Orleans, so we're excited about checking out just all the history there. And then after New Orleans, my next concert will not be until St. Louis, which I'm excited that they're coming there. That's only 5 hours driving distance from me. St. Louis is a great place to see the band. I know that Tim Reynolds is from St. Louis. His nephew was actually on the show a year or so ago. And, I just kind of grow to love Tim even more. Not that I know him, but like the stories I hear, and with him being on the show and talking about how much of a mentor Tim was. And now that he can shred the guitar as well. But I think that St. Louis will be a fun show to get together with all of them. And then if I can do a few more, I've got tickets for both of the California shows. So just trying to go to venues I've never been to. That's kind of my goal. In 2023, I did a lot of videos, when I went to Jones Beach and SPAC and all of those big ones that people want to know about, and did video recordings so that people that want to go could go back to those videos and kind of get an idea of what like Jones Beach looks like or whatever. So that's something that I kind of
What did you think? What did you think of Jones Beach? They always play really good set lists at Jones Beach. What did you think about Jones Beach, the
I
venue?
love Jones Beach. Now, this is coming from a girl that lives in Arkansas though, right? So I don't see water. I mean, lakes and rivers and stuff like that, but like I don't see a beach and the ocean. And so just like the setting of that building, how you could see the water behind the band and boats. The only negative thing about Jones Beach is it's kind of like just like a 2-lane strip that goes out to Jones Beach where the amphitheater is. And even Dave has complained on stage about what a shitty thing it is to get out of there after the show because everybody's going the same way on a 2-lane road. So it's tough to get in and out of, but it's definitely worth going to just if you are from the middle of the country and you want to go to a Dave show on the ocean and you don't want to do Mexico, go to Jones Beach.
Okay, all right, that sounds good.
Yeah.
That's sick that you're going to the California shows. That's going to be amazing.
I'm excited. I've only seen him once in California, and honestly, it won't be as good as this particular one. I went to the Hollywood Bowl in 2018, which ended up making a vinyl. They ended up putting that show on vinyl, and that was my husband's very first show. And I'm like, dude, you have no fucking clue how lucky you are for that to be your first show.
Right? Was that the one when they had the orchestra play Here on Out?
Yes, that I lost my mind. It was
Yeah.
so beautiful and so unexpected, and I, just no other word but beautiful for how they rolled that out because Dave kept talking and it almost seemed like a stall, which is exactly what he was doing. But what they were doing is they had like this round stage that kind of connected to the main stage and it came out on top of the stage and the orchestra was in that circle. And so as he played Here on Out, the orchestra played and just being right there with the Hollywood sign and the stars and the Hollywood Bowl venue in general is magical with the trees and the lights and all the stuff. And
Yeah.
it's a top concert for me, just top concert.
Yeah. I got to see a show there. Even if I'm not lucky enough to see DMB there, I got to go to a concert at the Hollywood. It's a legendary. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it was so wonderful. Well, I want to talk about 2025 for you. So, what does it look like for you? Or do you have plans? Sometimes we don't have plans and then we end up at 4 shows somehow.
I'm going to go to my 2 Camden shows like I usually do. And again, this is the back-to-back years. Camden will end the main like first leg of the tour, which is good. It was perfect last year. 2 killer shows. The last show was the last leg of the tour last year in Camden, and he played Last Stop. So that was perfect.
So, Camden, and just right quick, I have to ask you, were you in Camden 2023?
Yes.
Do you know what I want to ask you about? Did anything particular stick out of Camden 2023?
Oh, night 1 during recently when there was that huge fight, and Dave was like, "Get the fuck out! Get him the fuck out!"
I've never seen Dave act that way. And it was
Never.
like maybe a week ago on social media, someone shared that again and was like, have you ever seen Mad Dave? There it is. Wild.
I was next to my friend who I went to college with. He came to that show and he was looking at me. He knows like I'm, huge fan. He looks at me and goes, is he like effing around or is he being serious? I'm like, he's being serious. Like something's going on in the pit. A guy knocked over a girl and didn't care. And it was during the jamming recently and he just happened to lock eyes and see it. And he was like, nope, this isn't going down.
That's great.
No, he was like, all of a sudden he turned into like Eddie Vedder at a show, like, get him out. It's like,
Papa Bear came out. He was like, no, you can change your voice. He was, I mean, he was clearly irritated, and I appreciated that he stood up for somebody, because I mean, there's still so many people out there past the fight that are there for the show. So for him to take a couple of seconds to just make sure that somebody was okay was, for me, like a really awesome thing that
yeah,
he did.
he would have done that anyway, but you're exactly right with the Papa Bear. Like, if that, he's looking at that was his daughter, you want to kill the guy. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. The pit is a rough place to be. I don't know how many years of pit life I can do. It is a tough life.
I don't know how you've done it so far. Like, I think the seat, in my opinion, I'd rather be in the first 15 rows of the seats if you're gonna pay for the pit, just do the first 15 rows. I don't know, but
Mm. I don't know how I'm doing it, but I'm thankful to still be doing it. Obviously, it's given me some exposure to continue to do this podcast, which is a really important project that I'm doing. It's my passion project. And so if you're listening to this for your very first time, and you don't know what in the world I am doing this podcast about, well, we have just settled a deal to do a documentary with some of the contents of my podcast, the Space Between podcast. And so we are making a documentary about the correlations between music and mental health, using the fans of the Dave Matthews Band as kind of the storyline. And so stay tuned to all of my socials. The information will be coming out soon. And we're so happy to highlight all of the amazing stories that I've been able to collect on this podcast for a greater good, and really teach people that music is such a tool to help so many people in whatever it is needs that they have. So thank you for sharing your story, because again, without these stories, I'm unable to do the documentary. And so thank you so much for taking the time.
congratulations on that, by the way. I had no idea. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. It is genuinely been such a surprise. This whole thing has been a surprise. I started a podcast out of my own mental health crisis. I remember the day I no longer wanted to live. And out of that, somehow and I remember, but it spawned to me creating a podcast to find a creative outlet. And this podcast has turned into more than I could have ever dreamed. And so many people have been so openly vulnerable on my show to share some of the most intimate, toughest moments of their life, and how the music of the Dave Matthews Band really made a positive impact in so much darkness. And so as I started hearing all of these stories, I was like, we have to do something better with this than a small podcast that only Dave Matthews Band fans are listening to. And so I'm super excited to expose this great set of fans. And I'm just super thankful for people like you that have been willing to share your life story with this band.
Thankful for people like you for hosting. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely. So 2025, we're excited. You never know what's going to happen when it comes to this band. Will there be a fall tour? Who knows? Will there be anything else in the future? Again, we don't know. And so
Come
it's
come to
fun.
come to MSG. Maybe we'll see you there. Come to MSG. I'll
Hey,
be at
we could go
MSG.
do a fall tour. I always want to, but it's always at the worst time of the year, like near Thanksgiving, which is also near my birthday. But then having 4 kids at Christmas, you're like, the mid-November is not the best time to be spending money to go to New York. So
Yeah.
maybe one day. But yeah, definitely love to meet you at a show. So if something changes and you end up at any shows, we'll stay connected for sure. And so let me know. I'd love to meet you in person. And guys, if you are listening to this on a podcast app, just know that you can watch this whole thing on YouTube, this simply under the Space Between podcasts on YouTube. So you can be sure to comment, like all those things that your 17, 13-year-old tells you to do on YouTube. Do that for me too. If you happen to be listening to this on a podcast app, here's something you can do that will help me even more. give me a review, right? A few words like, hey, this was great. But if you think there's some topics that we should cover that I haven't thought of yet, I'm very open to being critiqued. So definitely email me or send me a message through social media. So, Jeff, again, thank you so much for being on the show. I hope that you will come back in many years when the band is still playing to kind of catch us up on what the rest of the years have done for you.
Thanks for having me, Renae. I appreciate it. I really do. And I do hope to see you at Camden. I'll be there every year, MSG. And if I do end up traveling a little bit for one, and you're at one, I'll hit you up. I'll let you know for sure.
Well, guys, stay tuned. There'll be an episode every week or more. So be sure to stay tuned on all of the socials. And until we meet next time, peace, love, and Dave Matthews Band.